Alright, so this was after the hungover game, round 5 of the Dublin International Chess Open. At this point, 1 wins, 3 losses. My opponent was Zyanch Biswal. He was a little, I'd say 7, 8 year old Indian kid, but he was a resident of Ireland, and I was the black pieces. And he opened with e4, which I was happy to see. Um, So also happy to see a little kid because I always just win against him for some reason. So um, I played the alekhine. It's something I like to play, but it's not for everyone. The whole point is you don't play e5 and you let them just instantly attack the knight, which is the best move, which he does. And then you just jump the knight here, and the most common way to play is d4. You just take big center. But if you went a different way, which is acceptable, is c4. Some kind of Edward Lasker variation. I haven't seen this a lot, so I wasn't exactly sure what to do, but I just dropped the knight back. He attacks again, and I definitely haven't seen this before, so I started taking a little bit of time in the opening here to make sure I wasn't going wrong. It had already been a tough tournament. I was feeling better from the hangover, so I wanted to get a win. And what better way than against a kid who has his pawns already planted here and here. And it's kind of the whole point of the alekhine. You dance around this knight and let them take this big center. But eventually you kind of ask these questions of whose pawns are really weaker. My pawns still have ways to go. Your pawns are already landed here. We know they're going to be here. And you can kind of break them up and pick them apart sometimes if you play well. And I danced my knight back in here. He played another move. I was just instantly expecting d4, but he played the bishop here, and I have to do something about that, and I instantly kind of realized that the knight can't really jump anywhere without landing in some big trouble, and that if I was to play here, I'm going to double these pawns. But I went for it anyways. I had a plan if he took, which I was surprised to see that he did. Again, I was just expecting a move like d4 or even knight here. But even knight here, honestly, knight here looks really good. My bishop is far away from contesting it over there. But he just takes. I was surprised, but a little happy to see this. Already getting a bishop pair. And he strikes with d4 finally. But now I just try and break up this whole conglomeration he has and have him make a decision. And he did pretty quickly. This whole time he's making his moves rather instantly and staring at me the whole time. Like this little kid's just at me the whole time while I'm thinking. He's playing his moves instantly. And I feel like if it was an older person, that would actually get in my head a little bit. But since it's a little kid, not a little kid, but a young chess player, I just didn't really feel intimidated by it. I was like, stare at me, man. But I took back, and I didn't know what I was expecting. I think part of me was just expecting him to take or here to threaten this. But I also consider the move he played, which is the other knight out. So in case I take, it can be taken back with a knight or the pawn, and if it takes back with the pawn, it's protected. And I thought here for a while. I wasn't sure whether the bishop pin was a good plan or not. But I ended up coming up with a plan of taking. I was also afraid of here, the check, in all honesty. I didn't really like it. I didn't like how active his queen was going to get. And I'm not even sure if taking something I really want to do. I kind of want to castle kingside, so do I really want to open the g file? I guess he's far away from castling queenside, but I took after a long think, and I was expecting him to play here. That was my whole idea. I was afraid he was going to play there, but I came up with a plan against it. So I took and said, I think I'll be okay. And he didn't. He took back with the knight. I was surprised because when he took back with the knight, I pretty quickly played queen here. And yeah, you might be saying he blocks. And at first I was thinking I could go for, like, let's say he brings the knight, I could go for a little hit and hit. Or if he blocks with a knight like that, then it's really hit and hit. And here, I think I even liked here, hit and hit, but I realized just a simple move like bishop here, and he might have counterattacking ideas, just getting this knight in. And my queen, does it even really want to go down and take this pawn? Seems a little scary, so I opted out for a way better move, and Engine agrees that it's the best way forward, just to drop my queen. Oh yeah, I forgot to explain. He went bishop there, which is a natural response, just to hit this queen. But I drop back, and now I look at this whole file, and more importantly, I cut off the king from castling. And it was around here when my opponent stopped playing every move instantly. And he kind of had a real sad look on his face, like, oh no, maybe this position isn't all that I've hoped for. Am I really going to lose to the alekhine, which is so bad according to some people, but it's not. It's not. But yeah, I was happy to play this. And then he played the move knight c3 after his first long thing of the game, and I already felt nervous, mostly because of this idea queen here. And I didn't really like the idea of almost being forced to take because it's check. We wouldn't want to like block, first of all, because takes, or even here, because queen takes here, takes. So I kind of was afraid, and at the same time, it just hits my pawn, and I didn't see good ways of defending it without, like, I can't go here because knight takes, can't go here because knight takes, and the only move I really came up with was the bishop. Just, it's really my only option. It wasn't a happy move to play. I was realizing he could go here, which is what I think he should have done, but I was very happy to see him drop back. Clear indication he wants to castle this way. Like, the whole reason I thought he brought the knight out here was to play here, but his whole reason was to play back here to block my queen so he could finally castle. So, shows sometimes in chess you need a little luck, because yeah, I don't think this was the best plan, because I strike with a pretty important move here, f3, just kicking out this knight from being a beast in the center of the board. It really brought this queen move here to life because it made it hard to block with either piece. So when it drops back, it gives me time to develop, also castle. But here I actually spent a long time deciding whether bishop here was an appropriate move, and I haven't checked it with Engine, honestly. I'd be interested to see what it says. I spent like a long time thinking about all the ways it could go down, what could happen, what would happen even if I was able to take here. I was also thinking about him just going back like that, and I don't know, it got a little complicated, but I eventually decided, because I haven't moved either of these pieces yet, that it's better to just get a piece off the starting square, get a move away from castling, and everything's going to be fine. And he castled, I castled, but my opponent was already starting to get flustered. We had pretty much caught back up on time by now, and you could kind of tell I started winning the psychological edge, especially since at this point in the game, now I'm the one staring. You know, now he had his fun staring at me, but now I'm staring at him. Like, yeah, man, I couldn't play. I think he was frustrated that, I mean, just clearly my bishops are menaces in the middle of the board. And when he drops his knight in to attack one of the bishops, I simply just drop back. I mean, my position is rock solid. This bishop's ready to activate at a moment's notice. Defends an important pawn. This knight's still hit. And, I mean, I don't know what happened to my opponent here, but I'm telling you, I think the staring at him really had a big factor on him. Because, I mean, the simplest moves are, we have two open files here. So, instantly my mind's just thinking here, knight here, rook here. Like, what could possibly be bad about either of those ideas? And he just spent a long time. He looked really frustrated, and he just played h3. which, in all honesty, the only thing I could think of that it does is prevent the king from being back rank mated in the future, and the idea that the knight can go here and jump here. And then if it was here, like, what is it really attacking? So I don't know. Like, I really don't know what h3 was, but at this point, I had already kind of just felt like my opponent was slipping. We both had one win out of 3 games, or 4 games, so 1 win, 3 losses, and I just think my opponent already felt like the inevitable was coming. Like, he felt like his position was worse because it is slightly. I have the bishop pair. It just his knights feel clunky over here, and my pieces are ready to get back into the game. My queen's at least active a little bit. Like, if rook was to go here immediately, I would snag this pawn, I think. But yeah, I don't. And I think one of the biggest things that gives me an advantage is just the no infiltration points by these bishops and pawns. I mean, it's really just covering a lot of the squares that he could use to attack, where he doesn't really have that same. Like, I could land a piece here. I can land a piece here if I was to take, and so it's those kind of things that give me like that small advantage. But I just played simple, developed a knight, putting pressure here. We can drop back to defend this pawn if it's ever in danger. Have ideas of here to trade off the bishop if I want. And again here, my opponent just thinking for a long time and playing a move that makes absolutely no sense, other than the fact that he wants to play here and was afraid of me taking the pawn. But like, honestly, it might have been worth it for him just to claim the file. It just seems like a waste of time. I mean, unless he's trying to expand, but then you just block in your own bishop. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was clear to me that the psychological factor was playing a big part. I was still staring at him. I mean, I really didn't care. I was just gonna be like, yeah, you want to stare at me? No, you're worse. So I'm gonna stare at you. And nothing to do here except explain the most simple move, rook e8, taking the only fully open file with no pieces on it. And I mean, I just don't understand what is stopping him from playing these moves. Even a move like queen here. I mean, this whole time, like, I think around, yeah, here I realized he can go queen here, and it would be annoying. Like, I'd have to find a way to deal with this weakness. Like, I'd probably have to take and play like knight here. But he just never plays that. Even here, that's why I played this knight here before playing like rook here, because now with queen here, I have this to defend, and then it's well protected by the bishop here. And yeah, instead he doesn't play that. And here, I mean, again, he can at least try for queen b3, at least gives him some activity. Queen is out in the game, rook here. Drop the knight, I mean, out of harm's, I guess that's not out of harm's way. I don't know what he's supposed to do, but I think Engine was even saying here was crafty, because after this, you just let it happen and like play queen here. And yeah, my opponent made a really bad move after thinking for a long time. It's just knight here, and I mean, at this point in the game, there was a spectator at the board when he played it, and we kind of just shared a look, and we're like, ah, tough luck. I mean, I don't know. But I mean, my opponent is 15-18, and if you just play chess online, you're quickly going to be like, oh, it's just 15-18. Like, 15-18s make bad moves, but when you're playing over the board, 15-18, you're a solid player. Like, you know how to play chess. Your online rating's probably around 1800 for rapid. So, I mean, you may think 15-18's low, but it's not. I've lost to lower, and I'm 1900 on chess.com rapid ratings, so I don't. You had plenty of time to not make a huge blunder like this, but I just take, and then just absolutely no spirit from the kid. I've noticed this when you play little kids, like when you get a winning position, they just crumble. I mean, he just takes the queen for I don't know why. Like you would at least think if he wants to come back, he would want queens on the board, and I take, and he just plays here. Just giving me the option to simplify. And I actually realized I was looking at the position, taking my time, because this is a big win for me. But I realized I had this knight take. Knight takes. If knight takes, I just take the bishop. I'm hitting the knight. Knight drops back. I mean, I just win this pawn. Like whole white position crumbling. But I just decided why complicate the game? Why even give him hope and give him chances when I can just play rook a to e8? And I mean, what is he gonna do? I mean, now if he moves the rook away, this knight jump is even more powerful. He takes, I take, and he just plays this again. And I realize again I have the same idea, but I just decided to keep things simple. Take, take, here, blocks, but it's only a matter of time. He expands, but bishop here, and he actually just resigned. Some people might say you could play on in this position, but I mean, just to show, I mean, this just isn't fun if you're the other player. You're not getting in against any of these squares, and like, I'm just up a piece, and even then, like, I can trade off the bishops, and I'm just up a knight. The pawns are going to get picked apart. I have plenty of time to think about what I need to do. So he just resigned, but not a lot of spirit there to come back. I was kind of disappointed in my opponent, but also happy at the same time. Like, how can I be that upset with a win in a high-level chess tournament that I was in against a pretty strong player? This was the lowest rated player I faced all tournament. Just happened to be a nice win. So, yeah, I think the psychological factor was the biggest key factor in the game. Probably why he didn't even try either after it happened. I think he was holding back tears, and I get it. But it proves my winning streak against the kids. Chess players don't like playing kids, but I do. So, and I'm going to keep playing that way. And that's about it.